How do we manage the protein transition? Which food components can provably boost your immune system? What's the best way to validate health claims for food and food components? Listen to our food and health experts discuss the biggest questions facing the food, nutraceutical, and food ingredient industries today. Welcome to NIZO Talks Food and Health.
The market for probiotics and other microbiome modulators is expected to grow 6.7% annually, reaching $77 billion by 2027. Probiotics are no low-hanging fruit. To reduce risk and ensure fast time to market, they must be addressed as early as possible. We get the latest insight from Janneke Ouwerkerk, microbiome and fermentation expert at NIZO. The market of probiotics and microbiome modulators is growing really fast and already accounts for a multi-billion-dollar market. Developing a new probiotic is really not easy. There are many hurdles ahead, and today I'll be speaking to Janneke Ouwerkerk, who is an expert in fermentation and microbiotics. Welcome, Janneke.
Thanks.
Janneke, how do probiotics work to promote health inside and outside the gut?
Yeah, thanks. Interesting question. So probiotics work in general to improve the gut health and thereby providing also general systemic health. But we keep learning about new niches of these bacteria that help, for instance, in mental health, but vaginal health, but also physical activity, for instance.
Yeah, so there are many aspects already.
There are many aspects on how they work.
Well, if we talk probiotics, there are the traditional probiotics, but also something that's called next generation probiotics. Can you tell a little bit what is the difference between those?
Yeah, so the historic probiotics are like the bacilli or streptococci, E. coli, for instance, and the next generation probiotics are usually strict anaerobic bacteria from the zero oxygen environment of the gut, for instance, that were specifically isolated for a specific health benefits. So examples are, for instance, Faecalibacterium prausnitzii or Akkermansia muciniphilia, Bacteroides species that people are working on. These are new types of probiotics that are now coming onto the market at the moment.
So basically bugs that are isolated or are connected to the gut microbiome already.
Yeah, so now I name a few examples from the gut, but there is also novel probiotics from the skin that were isolated from the skin, etc. So for every new niches that is discovered, they also isolate new potential probiotics and then look if they are actually helping for that specific benefit.
So if we consider the development of probiotic, what are the steps that you need to choose such probiotic?
Yeah, so first of all, you need to screen. So there is always many different strains of a specific species that might be of interest. So you can either start in silico by screening a lot of different genomes to look for potential genes that are causing your health benefits and then select the ones that actually have that gene. And then you start with in vitro screening, for instance, are they manufacturable? So they have to be able to grow, but we also need to keep them alive during the downstream processing, making, for instance, probiotic powder. And that's an important aspect of the selection as well. So first of all, you can do the screening of specific strains that will help you with your health benefit to improve it. Yeah. And second of all, you need to really select strains that you can manufacture, like a manufacturability check. Otherwise, in the end, you have one strain you focus on, but you cannot really produce it, and then you cannot use it in the products that you envision.
I can imagine. So if you look at all those things that you need to consider, what are the challenges that manufacturers must really keep in mind?
So for these next generation probiotics, it's the anaerobic culturing. So you need to be able to have a process in place where you can work strict anaerobic for some of these challenging strains. So for the pre-cultures, growing in a bioreactor, but for instance, even formulating and freeze-drying the powder under anaerobic conditions for some of these strains. So that is challenging, and many manufacturers are now implementing anaerobic processes to be able to do so.
And I can imagine also in the course of the development that other technologies are involved. Bioinformatics we talked about lately. Can you explain a little bit how bioinformatics can make the journey of probiotics more successful?
Yeah, so first of all, in the screening part, so screening first of all for genes that you need to have the health benefit, but also to screen, for instance, for traits that you do not want, for instance, antibiotic resistance genes or virulence genes, because strains with those genes you do not want in your end product.
Yeah.
So you can use it to select the strains that have the right traits but do not have these virulence genes in the genome. And then secondly, which is really important, at the beginning you have high throughput screenings of many different strains for many different conditions, and you need bioinformatics to visualize your data because it's a huge amount of data, and to make proper decisions you need to visualize it in such a way that you understand what medium component has a certain effect, for instance, or what harvesting time makes sure that the shelf life stability is better. And this data visualization is also a very important part where bioinformatics then plays a role. So that is to basically to show the data, visualize it in such a way that you can make the right decisions to continue in your journey.
So because you're dealing with so many parameters and so much data, but also looking at all the possibilities that the probiotic might have in terms of genes, these kind of data technologies are really important.
Absolutely, and maybe last also for the preparation of in vitro or clinical trials, you can already look at certain aspects of your bacteria. For instance, does it produce a certain short-chain fatty acid, or can it degrade a certain food product? So you can easier screen in your clinical trial if it's actually working. So also for that part, it is very helpful to have a bioinformatics approach.
So if we now look a bit at the future and seeing all the possibilities of probiotics, can you explain a little bit what you think are the upcoming trends in probiotics?
Yes, absolutely. So first of all, we see a multi-strain product. So instead of using just one probiotic in a product, we combine several strains. Which makes sense because you have a very wide diversity in most microbiome niches, like the gut, for instance, but also on the skin. And if you want to make it healthy again, and you use several strains, it has a better effect than if you use just one. It brings us manufacturability issues with it, because you need to be able to manufacture all of them, combine them, and keep them all stable at the same time. So that is then the trade-off. The second one is the combination of post and prebiotics, for instance. So that's called a symbiotic. Either you do a probiotic with a prebiotic. For instance, inulin is one of these examples. It's a fiber where some probiotics really grow well on. So if you combine it, you get a better effect. Also, postbiotics and probiotics can be combined, or all three together. It's different ways of improving, in the end, the gut health or the skin health or the vaginal health. And if you combine different mechanisms of actions, you have a higher chance that it will be improved.
Yeah.
And maybe the last is that we see it much more often in a wider variety of products. So first it was just yogurt, for instance, but now you also see it in cereals. So different food products will be supplemented with these probiotics. It's also in the market, I think for people it's more and more clear how important these bacteria are for your health. So microbiome in general gets much more attention, and therefore there's also much more requests for products that contain these beneficial microbes.
So actually what you have been explaining is it's a growing field because there's a lot to be learned from the microbiome, and that development causes the industry to find more potential probiotics. But to make it even more complex, combinations of those probiotics are, what you're saying, more and more the future.
Absolutely.
In order to be able to do so, you need to face a lot of challenges, and that's actually what you are also working on.
Yes, enjoying.
Well, thank you very much, Janneke, for this nice conversation. This was Niso Talks Food and Health, and if you want to know more, please check out our website.
Thanks for your attention. If you enjoyed it, please check out our other episodes via our website and other platforms like Spotify, Apple iTunes, and YouTube. Subscribe through your regular podcast app to make sure you never miss an episode.